live, Chair.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Performance Governance and Audit Committee on Thursday, the 18th of January 2024, would you believe? My name is Councillor Bell and I'm the chairperson of this committee. There are just a few housekeeping issues to run through. Members, we are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. During each item, please put your hand up to indicate if you wish to speak, and then I will invite you to speak at the appropriate time. Could I ask members to avoid approaching the top table, as this could create interference with the cameras and the live stream. Please note that the YouTube live stream sound recording is dependent on the correct use of the microphones. Therefore, can I ask that when invited to speak, you remember to turn on your microphone and turn it off when finished. Please reference a page or paragraph number when referring to the agenda papers, and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. Members, we did notice in putting together the PGA working group meeting lately that there was an error in the minutes of 15th of June 2023 where I was missed off the membership agreed in the committee meeting. The YouTube video clearly shows my appointment to the working group, so I will ask the committee clerk to highlight that this was a mistake in the minutes and that the full membership should be Councillors Burwood, Spenceley, Thompson, Shaughnessy and myself. Do I have a seconder and committee agreement for this, please?
Sure, I'll
Thank
second.
you. Committee?
Yes.
Yeah, super. Thank you very much. Now, I don't think we have any apologies for absence, do we?
Councillor Miller, please.
Oh, Councillor Miller. Just Councillor Miller? Yes, thank you.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Okay, on to the minutes of the last meeting, which can be found on pages 5 to 10. And these are the minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of November 2023. I recommend that they are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Members, can we agree those by assent? Super, thank you very much. And item 4, it is also recommended that the matters arising from the minutes of the meeting held on 16th of November 2023, found on pages 11 to 12, are noted. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. Members, can we agree those by assent? Super, thank you. Item 5, disclosure of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other registrable interests, and non-registrable interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraph 9 and appendix B of the Code of Conduct for members. Do we have any disclosures of interests? No, fabulous. And remember, if you do discover any during the meeting, please let me know. Thank you. Item 6, we have no public participation tonight, so we can go straight on to item 7, which is the review of corporate performance for quarter 2. And this can be found on pages 13 to 52. And I've got Ms Hughes on Teams to present this. So Ms Hughes, over to you, please.
So this report covers our performance against the corporate plan as at quarter 2, which is July to September 2023. Section 3.1.1 of the report shows an overall delivery picture against each of the corporate priorities. It shows that as at September, all 6 priorities were either on track or on track with conditional elements. The data that informs this is then set out in Appendix 1 of your reports, which is from pages 15 to 52 of the report pack. Members are invited to review and feedback on corporate performance and confirm assurance of effective performance management.
Thank you. Is that it? Are you finished, Ms Hughes? Sorry, you've gone on mute. Thank you very, very much for that. Okay, so the recommendation found on page 13 of the report, which is little 1, that members review the information as set out in this report and Appendix 1 with priority focus given to the strategic priority level performance, and little 2, that members confirm they are assured through this review that corporate performance is being managed effectively. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. So, members, any comments? Yes, Councillor Sam.
Just some clarifications really. Page 25, delivery of Promenade Park Management Plan with a view of adoption from all Maldon District Council public spaces. Can I just have a reassurance or an update that all Maldon centric, and I get fed up of saying that because everything seems to be Maldon centric, are all engaged? I don't know how that Promenade Park working group or whatever it's form it's taken, and can we have an update to what they've done and what they're doing, because it does say it's on track, but I'm sorry, that means nothing to me because I've not been involved in anything. So if I've not got any information, I can't really raise any and ask any questions. So if somebody can just reassure me and give me some information, I would be grateful. And apologies to other members if they know and I don't. Thank you.
Okay, Ms Hughes, would you like to take that one?
I think it's Mr. Holmes.
I believe, yes,
Mr Holmes over there.
Good evening, members. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Yes, so the property management plan, a number of activities have happened over the autumn of 2023, fact-finding information, initial consultation. We're looking at a gateway review that will be carried out by the end of this month to sort of set the project going forward with a view to completing the property park management plan itself. So the review will look at all the information that's been gathered, make sure there's focus and a balance between our ambition and deliverability and what we actually need, and make sure that the plan that is produced towards the sort of middle part of the year is fit for purpose. So that is where we are, but a great deal of work has been done. Officer teams have been engaged. We've also been working with the East of England Local Government Association for some support in doing that piece of work. So that's where we are at the moment.
Can I come back, because I haven't had the one question you didn't answer, is member involvement?
I'll have to confirm. I understand that members have been involved initially, but there's certainly more consultation to go as the document develops, and clearly ward members are really important in that. So I will note that. There has been some engagement. I'll absolutely make sure going forward that they are.
Because, Madam Chair, can I say it's really important, because we know we've been on this council. Councillor Thompson's been around a long time, and so has Councillor Pratt, I would think, about this review for the promenade, and we know we get into difficulties when we don't consult with not just with members but with actually residents. I have got another question, but if somebody else wants to come in, I'll come back.
I think Councillor Spenceley wanted to come in there, so I'll come back to you, Councillor Stan. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of quick points. One is just a matter of phrasing. Bottom of page 20 on the health and wellbeing, it refers to obesity promotion, which I think it kind of means the opposite.
We don't mean that, do we? No. Thank you.
I know what it means, but just. And then page 42, it's invidious to single out individual elements, but I was very impressed by the range and scale of the activities on the climate action front. There's a very impressive record of achievement there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Pratt just because you haven't had a go yet, and then back to Councillor Stan.
Just the red rag of number of affordable homes delivered is worth drilling into. And based on the decision we made in private at the last council meeting, I just wonder the impact that that's going to have and how we're going to dig ourselves out of it.
Who would like to take that one? I mean, we're not alone in this. I think probably pretty much every other authority is in a similar position with this.
That's right, and obviously we don't have a representative from housing here, and it's quite a big subject. And we do have Mr. Winslow on the line at the moment, and maybe he wants to add some comment. But I think members, there's a lot of activity around affordable housing. It is a big area and a big challenge to the council. I will just lean into Mr. Winslow to see if he'd like to offer any comment around that for me, please.
Mr. Winslow, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, in respect of your duties as a local planning authority, you are securing affordable housing for any applications which are large enough in which to require it as part of compliance with the local development plan policies. So you are doing that. What this measure looks at, though, is the amount that are actually coming out of the ground and being delivered on the back of consents that are already in the system. And there is often a little bit of a lag and not an even, although you've got an annual target of 209 per year, which is set out in your local development plan, that's obviously going to need developers that are engaged in schemes which are large enough in order to bring those forward, and also any supplemented by any council schemes, which perhaps is what Councillor Pratt is referring to, which might otherwise be able to deliver schemes on the ground or through buying property in order to deliver affordable housing. I think that's all I can comment, Chair, in the circumstances.
Thank you very much. I could say something about commuted sums, but I shan't because now is neither the time or the place, but I will at some point. Councillor Stamp, will you defer to Councillor Stilts before you come back? Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. I'm looking at page 28, and it's projects delivered in partnership as part of the Kick the Car Habit Pledge, which I think is quite interesting as we are such a rural district with a very poor system of transport. And the target says 1 per year. Is that 1 car per year? 1 strategy per year? What do we mean by that target of 1 per year?
Who would like to take that one?
Chairman, I think Mrs. Wheatley may be able to offer some comment on that.
Mrs. Wheatley, can I go to you, please?
Yes, thank you. I'll have to double check on that one, I'm afraid. So if I can come back to you later, that would be great.
Great, thank you very much for that. But extremely good question, Councillor Stilts. Extremely good question. Councillor Stamp.
Oh, sorry, I was paying attention. I'm not sure which page it is, to be honest. I'm struggling to find what I call the meat on the bones of this report because it's still early on regarding the corporate plan, as the officer explained. But where is it saying here about Burnham Pontoon or the town signs, the delivery of the, I mean, it says UK SPF fund. I noticed we've got an officer here and I think rather than not involve her in our discussions, otherwise it's a wasted journey, can we have an update on some of these projects and the date of the UK SPF funding expiry date? Because I can't remember if it's 2025.
I do believe that's an agenda item, isn't it, Ms. Cable? So can we leave it to where it comes?
You tell I'm not paid attention.
Ms. Cable's
then.
giving us feedback on
What, on all of it?
Yes.
And the Burnham boats? Yes. Oh, okay, because you've got Burnham boats on here, on this.
I think it will be covered.
All right, I give way. I'll wait.
If it's not Councillor Stamp, then do bring it up. But I'm pretty sure it's Ms. Cable.
I think Councillor Stamp might be referring to the houseboats. Is that what was in the paper? So that won't be within my update, because the houseboat pontoon isn't the UK SPF project. So I'd have to defer to another officer or one of the directors to be able to.
That will be in the commercial report at the end.
So you're going to, it's not a PSC, is it?
Yes.
Sorry, Chair.
No problem at all. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to raise on this agenda item? No? Could we, can we agree the recommendations by assent members?
Agreed.
Super. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to everyone involved in producing that report, as always. Comprehensive. Thank you. So we move to item 8, review of corporate risk for Q2. And I keep thinking quarter to what? And you can find this on pages 53 to 60. And again, I shall go to Ms. Hughes, please, to present this.
Yep, so again, this covers the corporate risk register for Q2, July to September 2023. Section 3.3 of your covering report highlights the changes in risk that there have been since Q1. R34 has a new risk that's been put in place, and that's to replace R9 and R10. The risk is now called failure to have a structured way to engage and support local businesses, and that's because it's now specific to the council-based element of the risk, and the associated scoring has therefore increased. Previously, R5, failure to deliver the required infrastructure to support the development arising from the LDP. This one's been refocused, so R5 has now been reworded, which is now damage to the council's reputation associated with delays to planned infrastructure delivery in the district by third parties. There's one risk where there's been an increase in risk measurement, which is R11. That's failure to protect commercially sensitive data. Appendix 1, which is found on pages 55 to 58 of your agenda pack, then gives the full view of the corporate risk register. And additionally, Appendix 2, which is on page 59 of your pack, shows associated mitigating actions for risk where this is relevant.
Brilliant.
Over to you.
That's great. Thank you very, very much. Brilliant. So, okay. So, recommendations, which are found on pages 53 of the report, are that members review the corporate risk register in Appendix 1 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. That members review progress of the corporate risk mitigating actions in Appendix 2 and provide comment and feedback for consideration. And that members are assured through this review that corporate risk is being managed effectively. And finally, that members challenge risk where the committee feels that the council's corporate goals may not be achieved. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Members, over to you. Yes, Councillor Spenceley.
Thank you, Chair. Well, just a comment, R5 on the infrastructure issue. Clearly, the news of St Peter's Hospital throws that into very harsh relief. Wouldn't recommend necessarily that we change the score, but the reputational damage and the damage to people's health and well-being is considerable. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely agreed with that, Councillor Spenceley. Alarming. Yes, Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, thank you. I echo that. I was going to raise that, and especially if you consider it was raised at our briefing on Friday with the directors about. I mean, I actually think that should go to ONS or something, the medical centre. And I think we also need to ask the officers if there has been an update, and I'm going to say obviously I'm Essex County Councillor, from Essex County Council, with the relief road or the delivery of I know it's outside your remit or your control, but I think it's really important everybody's aware of this situation. I know, and I'm never normally political, but it's an election year, so we know we're going to, hopefully, we might get some good news because it's going to be election year regarding St Peter's. But if the rumours are true, was it 18 million or 15 million they need to spend on it, which we all know they've got no intention or allegedly no intention of doing it. But I think we've got to take this as a whole. You know, there are, there's about 67,000 of us in the Maldon district now. There's over 18,200 in the Dengie alone. That is even outside the Maldon district. I don't know how as many is in Councillor Thompson's area coming from the north side of it. But not many or similar.
It'll be similar.
Okay, so, and we're going to have no provision. Except for, and as Councillor Stilts has just said, Madam Chair, you know, the bus services, we all know because we're part of the Dengie 100 bus users group, they're getting rid of the D4 and the D5. So goodness knows how people are even going to travel to get out of the Dengie, to get to Broomfield now, or Braintree and Brentwood?
Braintree
and Brentwood. So could I actually ask Mr Dodson when he comes in or whoever to say, or just to assure us all how much work has been done, because I'm not saying it hasn't, how much work has been done over the years for this council, because it just hasn't moved forward. And this is a massive, massive failure of this authority. And it's collective, it's not all our fault, it's outside the NHS. We do realise that, but we are elected to represent our residents. So if Mr Dodson can sort of reassure all of us and our residents that we have tried to do something. And I can remember when Councillor Lewis was in the chair, wasn't she, Councillor Pratt? And she used to go on about it so much about
it's been 30 years from what I can gather.
Yeah. So 30 years you'd think we'd got something somewhere. So if we can just have an update, Mr Dodson, and I'm not meaning to put you on the spot, but we need to know how much hard work for the residents this council has tried to deliver this facility, which has now been taken away from us.
Completely.
Thank you. You know, I think it's worth saying at the outset, this is an NHS responsibility. Clearly, we have a role in working with them. We're part of the overall public sector system to try and enable and do what we can to bring that forward. And there's a long history, as members have said, and I think it's approached delivery of a hospital a number of times and fallen at various hurdles. I think, you know, as members know, the current issue, there are a number of current issues. One is the state of the building and the state of disrepair at the site, and the NHS are consulting upon that, and I understand decisions aren't made yet, but clearly there's a huge deficit there in terms of the maintenance and the issues to bring it up to standard. And we continue to work with them to look to protect the services that are there, and including working across our estate to find out if there are opportunities for us to help them to provide that and maintain those services within the Maldon district. And that's really important, and we are working tirelessly with them to make sure that work's happening. Alongside that, of course, there's the issue of Wick Hill and trying to bring forward that site. And it was identified, it must be 3 or 4 years ago now, as the preferred site for that. And obviously, subsequently to that, there have been hold-ups with some of the development around the South Maldon that would bring that forward, both releasing the funding for it, for that link road. And it's my understanding, and maybe Mr. Winslow might be able to give a bit more detail on this. You know, we've worked very closely though with Essex Highways and the teams across Essex, County Council, because I think there are still issues around the land ownership within that. I think there are issues around the developer who is looking to bring that forward, who may be reconsidering the development there. So there are a number of issues in holding up that road development, which the County Council would be responsible for bringing forward. So we continue to work with them, but we can't remove all of those barriers ourselves. But we have regular meetings, we regularly look to see what's happening there, and we're taking it to the highest level within the County Council to try and release that, and any support in doing that will be much appreciated. But I can absolutely assure members and residents that officers of this council are working really hard with the NHS, with all partners, to try and do whatever we can to remove the obstacles to bringing forward that site and making sure that all of the infrastructure within the NHS plans are delivered. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Winslow, would you like to add anything?
I think, Chair, that the only thing I can really add to that, to Mr. Dodson's review, is that in addition to the activities of engagement, we have, as Maldon District Council officers, also been challenging the County Council officers to determine whether or not there's alternative ways of delivering the relief road. And by that, members probably be aware that it was always envisaged that the whole relief road would be built to provide access to the site where the Maldon Health Hub could go. So we have challenged that process from a professional perspective to ask whether or not it could be delivered in stages. For example, the stage which requires to give access to the health hub, could that then be followed on later on by the subsequent stages that would be necessary for providing access to the wider housing scheme? So I would say that our engagement is not just sort of talking, it is trying to challenge whether or not there's alternative solutions and things that perhaps weren't originally envisaged to be done, but may, out of practicality, now need to be reconsidered or considered afresh. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stamp.
Yeah, so obviously listening to the news, because that's why I wanted Mr. Dodson, if he'd got anything straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, because what we're getting on Facebook and the news and social media is that obviously there's going to be a public meeting, I think, now being called in Maldon itself. That is what I've heard. I'm not sure if Mr. Dodson can confirm or deny or don't know. But what I think if this council can do is go back and find out exactly when, because it will close. Don't care, it will close because that's what they've been trying to do for a long time. So I think rather to mitigate and trying to allay certain residents' fears, when that would be, and what, I mean, we've got to hold the NHS to account. What provisions are they putting in for the 67,000 plus residents here who's going to have to allegedly travel to Brentwood and to Braintree or to Broomfield or whatever? Because so can we find that out, Mr Dodson, where we, you know, what contingency are you going to put forward if and when they're going to close it? We need some timelines to try and, you know, comfort people really, because there's nothing more stressful at the moment than thinking, my God, how are we going to get to Broomfield? I've told the old story where I got up and took a pregnant woman. She had to go for a cesarean and she couldn't get a lift and she didn't have any money. I got up at 6 o'clock and took her to Broomfield because she couldn't get there for a booked cesarean and they wouldn't change her appointment. And that's just one case. I'm sure there's many, many more. And if you consider they've got to book a dart or somebody, people don't have £10 and £15 to go to one way to a hospital appointment now. So if I don't mean to embarrass. I'm not embarrassing you. Would you be able to find that out for us? And if you can, we would be very grateful.
Thank you, Chair. We could certainly, and we do have that ongoing dialogue with the NHS, and they will be coming to overview and scrutiny committee at the end of February as well to update members on all of these issues. So members will get that opportunity to ask those questions themselves. I think it's potentially preemptive of me to suggest any timescales at the moment, because obviously they are in consultation, or they go into consultation at the moment. I think the outline business case for the consultation has only been approved this week, with a view to the consultation starting at the end of January for 8 weeks. So I guess whilst I can press them, and certainly will, it's quite unlikely that I will get a timeline from them in terms of when it might close, because they are clearly saying at the moment that no decisions have been made whether it will or won't close, and that they're out to consultation. So we can certainly press them on that, and we'll hold them to account. And as I say, we've met with them this afternoon with a view to them coming to present to members. I understand that John Whittingdale MP is also meeting with them. There will be public meetings and online meetings as part of the consultation period. And I believe there may also be a public meeting separate to that as well. So I will pledge to hold them to account and to get all of that information. And of course, we'll share it with members when I have it. But I think it's also important that we create those opportunities with the NHS to make sure that members and most importantly, residents get the chance to hold them to account as well.
Thank you. Anybody else? No members? No, we agree the recommendations by assent, please? Agreed. Super. Thank you very much. So that brings us on to item 9, Annual Governance Statement Actions Update, on pages 61 to 64. And in the manner of Groundhog Day, it's over to Ms Hughes again. Ms Hughes.
Yeah. So in the Annual Governance Statement for 22-23, which was approved at PGA in June 23, we set out an associated action table for best practice governance improvements. So this report covers an update as of Q2, so up till September 2023. Section 3.4 of your covering report details the action plan. And in this reporting period, there are 3 new actions which have been completed. These are that there's been a launch of the risk management e-learning, that there's been a review and redesign of corporate performance to support the 23-27 corporate plan. And there's been also, the third thing is that there's been a rollout of the new service plan in SharePoint and associated monthly highlight reporting. So those actions marked in grey have previously been reported to this committee as completed. So there are 4 additional live actions that we have left, and a commentary update is provided for these, which continue to be progressed. And additionally, work now begins on the draft of the 23-24 Annual Governance Statement, and again we'll seek to be building on best practice into the next financial year also.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Sorry, I've been forgetting to ask if any other officers want to come in, but no one's showing any enthusiasm. So, okay, so the recommendations are that the committee reviews the annual governance statements table and updates at 3.5 below and challenges where necessary. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Members, can we agree those?
Can I speak?
Yes, sorry. I got all ahead of myself.
You did.
There,
It's only a quick one. It's a vote of thanks and something that I think this council's done really, really well, or doing really, really well. And that is, I don't think it fits into this plan, but I do want to say it, is that you are all starting to do these bite-sized hourly training feature things.
Aren't they good?
And we've had a couple on budgets. I think we've had 2 or 3 now on budgets or finance. And I think, it's my personal view, I think because they're the right length, they're they sort of just give you the information, you ask questions if you've got them. And the feedback I've had is that everybody's really enjoyed them. I know recently some of us haven't been able to attend because there's a lot of meetings during the day, and when we are struggling, I think, putting people at risk who's got jobs who can't attend. So maybe at some point, and I don't know where Miss Hughes it would fit on any of our documents or governance or whatever, we could maybe look at something like that, because I do feel as though there's a large majority of members who are excluded from things. But what I am pleased about is it's being recorded.
Yes.
So once you get that info, and if it all goes out to members, whatever, and you also you need a feedback form after every training session, a standard feedback form.
We do.
5 questions. Members can just do it, and then that will monitor the progress. Because to me, I think they're doing really well on that side for member training. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Yes, thank you very much. Before I go to Councillor Silks, while I've got Mr. Winslow on screen, I just wanted to say I've had incredibly positive feedback about your planning training. Terribly sorry I wasn't able to make it, but I gather that the format and the structure and, well, generally the session was very well received. So thank you for that. And again, hopefully more of those to come.
I'll second that.
Certainly, thank you, Chair.
And that's seconded by Councillor
I'll second
Thompson.
that, and I was able to attend. Thank you.
So thank you. I'm going to Councillor Stilts and then Councillor
Actually,
Chauncey.
you've just said everything I was going to say.
Great minds. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Thank you, Chair. Can I also extend the thanks because the planning officers have been working with town councillors as well, which has proved to be really helpful. So I'd like to add my thanks there to Matt and the others on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you're able to hear that, Mr. Winslow.
Yes,
thank you very much, Councillor Shaughnessy. And yeah, thank you for officers. It's really, really positive to hear these things. So thank you. Anybody else wish to speak, or can we agree this by assent, members? Agreed. Thank you very much. Which brings us on to item 10, review of health and safety for Q2, which is found on pages 65 to 72. And Ms Hughes gets a rest because we've got Mr Baccarini joining us on Teams. No, we haven't, unless he's heavily disguised. We've got Mrs Green. Mrs Green, over to you.
Good evening, members. I'm just going to introduce the report to you, then hand over to Mr Baccarini to give you his very detailed report. So this is our quarterly report on health and safety, which identifies any incidents, accidents and near misses, as well as an update on the progress that's been made to deliver our health and safety work plan. There are no areas of concern, and really good progress has been made on a range of activities. And I'll hand over to Mr Baccarini to give you a bit more detail and cover the report. Thank you, members.
Excellent. Thank you, Mrs Green. Mr Baccarini.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mrs Green. Apologies if I report what Mrs Green just said, but I refer to, obviously, agenda item 10, which concerns health and safety performance on page 65. The purpose of my report is to keep members informed of, obviously, our health and safety performance. Recommendations in section 2 that members consider the statistics for accidents and incidents, hazards and near misses, and unacceptable behaviour reports that have come in the period. And secondly, that members consider, as Mrs Green said, our progress in with regards to key health and safety themes. In section 3.1, you will see that there were 4 accidents and incidents. One involved a member of the public, where our parks team or our park staff provided assistance. The accident wasn't associated with Maldon District Council, its assets or work processes. They simply provided assistance. The remainder were unremarkable. Further on in section 3.1, on page 66, we have 9 hazards and near misses reported. Of these, 2 are perhaps worthy of highlight. One concerned a body-worn camera that is used by our community engagement officers. It was found to be smouldering in its charging dock in the main offices. Investigations with the supplier suggested that there may have been minor damage to the connecting pins, and these wouldn't have been obvious to the officer using it. The unit was replaced, and the practice of charging these units overnight.
Oh, you've gone quiet, Mr. Baccarini.
Second near miss concerns the delivery vehicles visiting food vendors in Promenade Park. These are observed to be moving amongst park users during busy periods.
Sorry, we've lost your sound slightly, Mr. Baccarini. Can you just bear with us while we have a bit of a fiddle around with the volume buttons?
I think it's just hallucination.
Try that. Could you try that for us, Mr. Baccarini?
Okay. Yeah.
No, still quiet. We have a loose connection somewhere.
Follow the cable from the speakers to the PC.
That'll be it. Thank you very much, Mr. Butcher. That's woken us all up. Please, sorry, Mr. Baccarini, do please continue.
No problem, thank you, Chair. The second near miss that was noteworthy was the observation of delivery vehicles visiting food vendors in Promenade Park. The vehicles, which included large vans and small lorries, were seen to be moving in amongst park users during busy periods. The food vendors were approached with regards to this, and they were reminded of their terms of their lease agreements, which restricts deliveries to quieter times. The situation will be monitored. Of the instances of unacceptable behaviour on page 67, 9 reports were received. 3 of these were experienced in person, 5 by electronic means, and 1 by telephone. 1 was a referral from a partner organisation. The reports are largely unremarkable, although they do highlight that unpleasant behaviour can occur frequently via email. Discussions with officers on this aspect has revealed that insults regarding professional capabilities and actions can be particularly hurtful, and although they may not be associated with a high risk of immediate harm, they can take their toll on staff well-being. Moving on to section 3.3 on page 68, this sets out our health and safety actions. The table presented is self-explanatory. It summarises the activities featured in later sections 3.4 to 3.12. Highlights include the work being done to establish staff forums to discuss and focus on health and safety on a routine basis, and to establish health and safety objectives for relevant staff in line with the risk profile of their service area as per section 3.4. An improved reporting arrangement with the Council's contractor for Legionella control as per section 3.10, and work being done to establish a series of safety toolbox talks in some of the service delivery teams and ongoing training as section 3.11. Moving on to section 3.12, page 70, we have a graphical display of health and safety reporting for the quarter. There are no obvious trends, but reporting data now being collated in this way will be better placed to assess emerging trends, types of injury, the departments and locations most affected. I've not shown all the data here. Service delivery teams are anticipated to feature heavily in this data as they presently make up the bulk of existing reports, and this reflects the frontline nature thereof. Finally, priorities going forward in section 3.13. These remain as before, the focus on health and safety forums and the work on the unacceptable behaviour policy. That is the end of my report. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mr. Baccarini. So the recommendations are little 1, that members consider the accident and incident statistics and incidences of unacceptable behaviour reported. Little 2, that members consider progress of key health and safety themes as per section 3.2. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Before I open the floor, I just wanted to say that Councillor Stamp and I were having a discussion earlier about how much progress has happened within health and safety in this council. And yeah, it really, really is a breath of fresh air. So I just wanted to thank you again, Mr. Baccarini, for the progress that that you've made in this area.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Thompson, are you
Thank
just
you.
agreeing there?
I'm really just agreeing. Yes, Chairman, you beat me to it. I was going to thank the officer for such a comprehensive report and the excellent work being done on the whole area.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think it's Councillor Stilts and then Councillor Stamp, I think. Councillor Stilts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question on page 66. Under the Control of Substances Hazardous to Health Act, we have 5 that do not comply, where the cleaner's cupboard containing chemicals was left open. Can you tell me that what we are doing to address that breach?
Mr. Baccarini?
Yes, the cleaning contractor has been approached. There was a site visit and a number of issues were addressed with them, formally in writing or certainly via email. The responses are awaited. The CEOs are obviously keeping an eye on the door, for example, that was left open in this case, and there's been no reoccurrence. However, a response is still waited on the points that were addressed with the cleaning contractor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Councillor Stamp, I think.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to congratulate Mr Holmes for a change, because he's the one who's had the ear bending all these years about health and safety from us. So well done for actually being able to crack on and getting the resources to do it, because I know it's been very challenging when people don't want to spend any money. So just a quick thank you for there. What I'd like to say though, excellent report, but what about members? This is all about staff. We get abuse, we get emails. Where is that recorded? Is there a mechanism for that? I'm maybe being a bit flippant, but I mean, we've all received them where we've had, what is the, that sort of thing, bleep, bleep, bleep. And it's very difficult when we all always stick up for and defend officers, and we try not to address on the negative when we're dealing with emails. But it can be very unpleasant for us as well when we hear some nasty, pasty bits about officers. So what about members? And also one question for Mr Baccarini is about trends. You said about, you've got on page 70 trends. If you've highlighted, or there's an area which Councillor Stilts has just said about COSH, I'm sure you've got training in place. So I would be very disappointed if trends were being identified, because I would have thought training would be delivered to the operatives or staff to mitigate, or I know there's always going to be accidents, I understand that. But can you reassure us that they are being trained
These are
when they're
contractors,
started?
I think.
Well, it doesn't matter. You've still got responsibility. You've still got a process to follow if they're contractors or not.
Mr. Baccarini. Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. With regards to the first point, the members experience unacceptable behaviour. The new reporting tool that is being worked upon has an element like a drop down which does include members. This has been raised previously, so it is hoped that it could be a tool that could be used by members. So it is being built in.
Brilliant.
With regards to the second point and COSH in particular. It was a contractor that was involved in this particular report, and the normal scenario would be that the report would go to the contractor, and we would request that they address it, whether it be by training or another measure. So it would be for them to address in this particular instance.
Thank you. Councillor Stills?
Yeah, I was just going to ask just a quick question, which is considering we have all these new councillors, all these new members, when was the last time we did an evacuation of the chamber training?
I've been here for quite a significant amount of time, Councillor Stilts, and I've never done one. So that's a very good question.
Got any bright ideas?
Here.
Chairman?
Yes, Mr Hunt.
So there has been a recent fire evacuation in the council offices for obviously the staff that are working on the site, and we're actually working on procedures around logging staff in and out of the building as well. So probably the last time it was done is when I did it, and in the middle of a meeting, which was quite exciting at the time. But I think they take the point. There are evening meetings as well, and we have people not necessarily familiar with the building, perhaps visiting for a meeting. So I'll ask Mr. Baccarini to have a look at that as part of our testing procedure.
Super, thank you. Very good point. Members, anyone else? Anything to raise? May we agree this by assent then? Agreed. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Baccarini. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 11, which is the UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Funds. And this is on pages 65 to 72. Ms Cable's presenting, she's here, and she's going to pause after paragraph 3.1.3, is that right? Yep. Of the report to take any questions members may have, and then we'll continue for the rest of the report and take questions at the end, because it's probably easier that way. So I will hand straight over to you, Ms Cable.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members. Appendix 1 of this report sets out the projects which are being delivered via the funding over the 3-year period and their current status. As advised in previous reports, where projects are not being progressed due to feasibility, funding will be reallocated to other existing projects within the approved investment plan. With the current economic climate and the cost of doing business increasing, it is prudent to ensure all projects align to our corporate plan and deliver against its priorities. At the time of writing this report, £233,700.73 has been committed to the progression of projects and agreed costs for management and administration. And that ends the first part of the report.
Thank you. Members, any questions on that part of the report? Councillor Stamp?
I apologise. I didn't even pick the paper up, the Appendix 1. I got that, but I didn't read that, so I do apologise to everybody, actually, because I normally read everything, because, well, you know. Can we have a little bit more detail on the pontoon, please? Because I myself have started, and there's been some social media interest yet again of the Burnham pontoon. Members, not everybody attended the member briefing about it, but it's all right members being briefed. It's the residents who need to know what's going on with these projects. Yeah, I think we all know how passionate I was at that briefing, because I'm not happy chappy regarding this pontoon. So if we can have an update in a positive way, that would be great. Thank you.
Can we, Ms Cable? Thank you.
A publicly accessible pontoon will be installed by the end of the year within the UK SBF budget. Work is now underway to put this into motion with the contractor and consultants engaged, with the intention for implementation to take place in Q4 of 2024. So that's 2023, 2024. Yeah. Key risks are planning and the MMO approval, as I'm sure Councillor Stamp can understand.
Thank you.
With all due respect, Councillor Stamp maybe understands, but I'd like the residents who are watching this to know, so it stops us getting all the emails and the best private messaging about social. Sure. I've actually asked, I don't know if it's gone to Mr Holmes, I actually asked Matt Howard-White if he could prepare a press release to everybody so they know exactly what's going on, and I think he said he would work on it. But I would actually ask that, and I've said this on more than one occasion, Mr Holmes, and you know I have, can we have regular updates on some of these things? Because we just keep getting complaints, and you know what it's like when it's negative, it's not very nice. We work really hard for our divisions and our wards, and it'd be really nice if some of the positive stuff was coming back from this council. I mean, for Essex County Council alone, I've sent 6 press releases on today because there's so much going on. So we do good things at this council, but you never tell anybody about it. Thank you.
Fair point. Do you want to come back, Ms. Gable?
Mr. Holmes was going to come in.
Ms. Gable wanted to.
I'd like to confirm that I have asked the project team for the publicly available statement to be made available. I felt it was really important that that message was delivered to members first tonight, and then obviously we can form the press release to give the timeline that's just been provided to the public as well. But I felt it was important to update members in the public forum first, and then the press release to come after that.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes, did you want to add anything to that?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we've seen the statement that has been prepared, and I think, picking up on your point, perhaps we should do a bit of a fact sheet around it, because perhaps people wouldn't be aware that even though we're putting back an virtually identical pontoon, it still will need planning consideration. It will still need certain consents from the government in terms of maritime consent. So I think they're the things that will potentially not be visible to people, and I think perhaps we could do that as part of a fact sheet, so people are informed, and we take your point about regular updates.
Thank you.
I thank him, Madam Chair. Can I thank you? Thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Maldon.
I think also some of these things, if we were more open, honest, and sort of communicate more, that will have an impact on the earlier statement, the R5, for the impact on our negative communication. So I think it all goes around in circles, doesn't it?
Win-win.
Yep.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Spencer.
Thank you, Ms. Cable, for a very interesting report, and it's good to see a lot of money is being put to good use. So I think the one I'm going to be watching with a lot of interest is the 3-year project with the Mid-Essex Alliance on reducing health inequalities, particularly in relation to what we said earlier about the hospital. And it's a bit of a conundrum because the ICB is this big organisation out there that we feel, I feel a bit very disconnected from, and but the alliance is the Mid-Essex Alliance is tasked with working with us, and the director of that alliance, who I know, is a local resident, and I know he's passionate about health in Maldon. So I look forward to reporting on the progress of that project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Yes, Mr. Dodson.
Thank you, Chair. Just to respond to that. I think it's really important that the preventative health work that we're doing through both the UK SPF and the wider work that we do with the Alliance, and it is somewhere where we can make a real difference to the district. And I think it's part of that system management solution. Yes, it's really important about the hospital and really important about the other infrastructure coming forward. But the NHS, it's vital to the NHS and to the residents that the more we improve the health of the residents within the district, the less call there is on those acute services. So it is an area where we can, as a council, make a real difference, and really worth us putting our efforts into that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stamp, then Councillor Stilts.
I'll give way because I've spoken once.
Okay, Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. I'm wondering how much of this we've got an excellent health and well-being group that's basically going at the moment, Live Well group, and some of these are actually being tackled by the Live Well group, as the chairman of that group can justify. So how much of that can we actually put into that group? The other thing that I noticed on here was the lower high street improvement. Can you assure me that we are re-looking at that? Because at the last full council, I did bring a motion about re-looking at the high street, as Matt's now going to come on, and re-looking at that. And also the other one on here, which I'd love to see getting up, is the District Youth Council.
Are you going to take that, or I know Mr. Winslow's popped up on my screen, so I'm not sure.
I'm happy to take those 3 questions, and please, I might need some prompting because my brain's not working as quick as it should. So the first question was in relation to the Mid-Essex Alliance project and the Live Well. So officers within the wider strategy, policy and communications team are leading on that, specifically the new health integration and community manager, who will be starting with us shortly, has actually been or will actually be working with fellow officers across the Mid-Essex Alliance area to deliver the activities and the action plan from that. So as you'll know, they're well integrated with the Liberal agenda as well. In relation to the next question, which was the Lower High Streets, I thought so, yeah. So from the audit which was completed with members of that Lower High Street focus group, and also county council officers, a list of key priorities has been developed to improve the Lower High Street area and some other areas of the high streets. That list and the costings of that has been submitted to the High Street Focus Group, which are scrutinising that at the moment, and will be deciding on which particular options that they want to bring forward from that list. If there are things that are more apparent than others that need to be focused on, then that will be decided through that group, and we'll engage appropriately with Highways to commission those projects. The third question, sorry.
Youth Council.
Youth Council.
So whilst the position of the lead for communities has been vacant, we have been progressing some of the elements of the work, but the Youth Council work, which we work in collaboration with Essex County Council, we've had to address the priorities within the team whilst we've got that vacant position, and that work will be picked up again and started upon once the new Health Integration and Communities Manager has started.
Thank you. That's one that's close to my heart as well, as you know. So, Mr. Winslow, don't know why I'm looking at you up there. I can look at you down here. Mr. Winslow, would you like to add anything?
Thank you, Chair. It's just in relation to Councillor Still's point about Lower High Street and the motion that she tabled to Council. So I can give assurance that we are now programming in to take the central Maldon and Haybridge Central Area Master Plan policy, which is in the current local development plan. That's policy S5. We're now programming that into the planning policy working group's work programme. We're looking to do that in the spring, or at least to commence the work in doing that. It's quite a sizable policy with various facets to it, but the review of that will now take place.
Super. Thank you very much for that. And Councillor Stamp, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Didn't Mr. Dodson's team receive some funding for the health person, what you were just mentioning, the new person? I'm sure you've received some funding or some assistance to do with the health and well-being. And did that come under, because I think the governments, haven't they put a massive investment? Because I know it's County Council has just received a lot of money to promote what you've just said, Ms Cable, about the health and well-being and preventative and stuff like that. But I'm sure this council received some funding recently, which would be really nice if you could acknowledge and say how well they've done to actually get some funding.
Yes, there are two elements of funding. One, I think we received over 100,000 in terms of health and wellbeing, and a project called Beat the Streets, which is around getting residents walking and the health benefits of walking, and it incentivises through putting checkpoints around the district so that people build up their miles, and it's a really good scheme and proven in other areas around the country. So the team have done great in getting that. And you may also be aware of, we've match funded the new Health Integration and Community Manager post, which we updated the post to, and we got match funding through the Mid-Essex Alliance for that, to ensure that we're looking at all of our services and their impact on health. So it's looking at services like housing, which all contribute to the preventative health agenda, and how can we tailor those services to make sure that the health impact of them is as good as possible.
Can I come back? Because I think it's really important that, that goes back to me saying about press releases, about the things we do really well, because at the moment we're obviously looking at our budgets and we're going to have to make some cuts coming in the next month or whatever, next strategy and resources. But what you've just said, a lot of people wouldn't know that members of this council has brought that funding in to deliver these projects within the corporate plan. And I think sometimes that little bit of information that's positive would go a long way. So thank you for that. But my point that I want to raise, Miss Cable, is about, sorry, I've got to change my specs, gateways. Is this the signage that the UK SPF funding was going to get? Can you remember when I upset one of the officers because I didn't like it, and then we purchased the signs which we can't put up in Burnham, but that's beside the point. So why is that project stopped then?
So, yep, Councillor Stamp is correct. That was a project that was previously presented and developed under our Welcome Back funding, so circa 18 months ago. As per paragraph, sorry, I'm just referring to my report. As per paragraph 3.1.2, where the deliverability of projects that need to be brought forward are more pertinent and strategic in meeting the corporate plan, then some other projects may need to be removed from our investment plan. And the gateways is one of those. You'll note that that funding, which was identified for the gateway signage, is actually going to be supporting men's sheds because of the exponential cost of construction and build that we've seen. It's basically doubled since our investment plan was developed. We felt the utilisation of that funds to ensure that the men's shed relocation could be delivered would be more corporately aligned.
Can I come back? Because I think that really does need a challenge, because is that an operational decision then? Because that came to council about these signs. So why hasn't I know it's just come now, but I wasn't aware of it until I actually read that and thought, oh my goodness. And I know personally I wasn't in favour of it, but have you not thought about, I mean, what sort of budget gap have you got? Because when that presentation was done, it was done to standardise and make the district look great, wasn't it? So have you thought about, or has anybody approached town councils and parish councils to see if they could contribute? Because we know the other alternative is the local highways panel gateway signs, isn't it, Councillor Pratt? And we know how long it takes and how much they cost to deliver. So I wouldn't even suggest going down that route if you want to. But all I'm saying is, have you looked at an alternative? Because it would look smart, then them little grey things that say welcome to the Maldon district on the outskirts of Southwood and Ferries or wherever. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, have you actually looked at that to reach that decision why you're going to put it on the men's shed? Because I think district-wise better than a men's shed. Sorry, men. I don't mean it like that, but do you know what I mean? Why haven't you got a woman's shed?
I beg to disagree with you there, Councillor Stamp. I think men's sheds are one of the most important developments in recent time. But nevertheless, we need to know the answer to your questions. So, Ms. Cable.
So the delegated authority for the development and delivery of the investment plan sits with CLT, which was approved at SNR in July 2022, I believe. I can't remember the exact date. And actually, when I spoke to CLT about realigning the funding from the gateways to men's sheds, Mr. Holmes actually directly asked me, could I look at reviewing and sourcing other funding to have the gateway project delivered, and that's something that I'll do. And obviously, if there's any residual funding from the delivery of the men's shed project, and then we can certainly talk to town and parish councils about match funding or co-funding the delivery of signage in that area. But the designs are still available, and if a parish or town council wanted to deliver the signs themselves, then I would happily provide them with the designs that were provided.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Can we move on with the rest of your report, Ms. Cable? Sorry, Mr. Dodson,
I just wanted to respond back to a point made earlier around promotion, because I've just done some check-in, and I just wanted to confirm that a press release went out today around the Beat the Streets project.
I haven't looked, I haven't got me email.
I can forward it on to members, and it will be in the weekly members newsletter tomorrow.
I do.
But yeah, I'll send it on to you.
That's good news. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Dodson. That's great. So back to you for the rest of your report. Oh, no, hello, Mr. Burwood. Councillor Burwood, I'm terribly sorry.
I was very interested to hear about the Beat the Street. Now, Councillor Stilts and I are on the Live Well partnership. We had a really good meeting at the beginning of the week. Lots of community partners sharing lots of things that are obvious across the district. And I don't remember anybody mentioning it. I don't know anything about it. I would really like some information, and make sure that Miss Card also has information about it, because it's news to me. Thank you. Yes, and I am the chair of that committee.
Would anyone like to respond to that? Yes, please.
So I can actually confirm it's Miss Card who secured the £134,000 funding, and so I'd like to thank her for that. We're also match funding it from UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So it's actually been delivered at no cost to the authority, which I think is amazing. And the aim of it is to deliver the programme which Mr Dodson referred to earlier to 5,000 residents. We do, so the PFAB, as it's known, Public Health Accelerator bid, the source of that funding is from Essex County Council. So obviously they wanted to announce the award of the funding to the various projects, which they've done. And our intention is to follow up with a Maldon specific press release exactly about Beat the Street once we've had the initiation meeting, which I believe is next Friday. Myself and two other officers will be attending that with the Beat the Street coordinator.
Thank you. I can read out the press release, which is as follows. Maldon District Council is one of the first 5 projects awarded major grant funding from Essex County Council's Public Health Programme, which aims to improve the health of Essex residents. Launching in summer 2024, Beat the Street will aim to improve the health and well-being of 5,000 Maldon residents. Through the app, participants earn points by walking, running, cycling, scooting, or rolling. I think that needs a little bit more unpacking, but we won't do that now. Or rolling between beat boxes. The further they travel, the more points they earn for themselves and their team. There's a map, leaderboards and prizes for the winning teams. Councillor Richard Siddle, leader of Maldon District Council, said, "I am delighted that we have been successful in receiving funding to launch this initiative, which aims to promote physical activity, encourage healthier lifestyles and foster a sense of community. I hope we will see a number of residents joining in or competing against each other whilst having fun, exploring the local area with the added benefit of undertaking some physical activity." And Lucy Whiteman, Director of Wellbeing, Public Health and Communities at Essex County Council, said, "FAB, PHAB, is about laying the foundations for supporting residents in Essex to live a healthy life and achieve their full potential. There are opportunities available to organisations of all types, and I would urge groups across Essex to consider whether the FAB programme could benefit them in future." Ends. I've got it. No, I haven't. This is on my chat, which is why I was reading it out to you. Yes, Councillor Burwood. Thank you, Mr Dodson circulated it. Yes.
I was just going to say, I've just done a search and I found it on Communication, Marketing and Members Bulletin from the 12th of January. So thank you for that.
Okay, I think we're back to you now. Ms Cable, please.
Thank you. Just to confirm, there will be a full update on that for members so they can get involved too once the programme launches. So on to the second part of the report, which is the Rural England Prosperity Fund. So through our partnership agreement with the Rural Community Council of Essex, a dedicated officer has now been recruited to support the delivery administration. This recruitment took slightly longer than anticipated, but officers are confident that the appointment will expedite the process, increase support and provide a better quality of service to potential applicants. An outline programme has been developed, ensuring it meets the requirements of the REP guidance, legal requirements and the needs of the district. The programme is expected to launch in January 2024 with a full communications plan to support awareness raising. And just to update, since this report was written, it will actually be launched in February. The date is the 15th of February. We've set a launch event and the tickets for that event sold out within 48 hours and we're actually operating a wait list. That's not just 2 spaces were available. It was actually 55 spaces were available for that event. And as I said, we're now operating a wait list. And my intention, due to the demand for the information, is to record a presentation that could be circulated to those members of the public that aren't able to attend, so everybody has access to the information.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. So I'm going to quickly do the recommendations before we go out to questions on the second part of Ms Cable's report. So the recommendations are that the committee acknowledges the update provided on Maldon District's UK Shared and Rural England Prosperity Fund allocations and continues to monitor the delivery. I so move. Do I have a seconder? Thank you very much, Councillor Thompson. Any questions to Ms Cable on the second part? Yep.
Just ask one question, because I've maybe missed it, because I've missed a few things tonight. Is there any of this funding going to help transport, any sort of green transport? I did notice that the cycle thing has been put off because of cycling facilities. I mean, I would imagine, sorry to keep mentioning you, Councillor Pratt, but you was the Essex County Councillor, and I'm sure you had many discussions about providing cycling lanes and walking lanes, didn't you, in our division? So is there anything, any sort of funding coming to help? I know that through the LDP you're doing the transport modelling and the transport this, that and the other, but is anything going for that? Because that is part of the health and well-being and living what everybody's been talking about. Is any of the funding going to that? Or any projects? Please.
Ms Cable.
So the cycling facilities to be delivered under UK SPF was always allocated for year 3, and we're going to be working on that. Excuse me. The Rural England Prosperity Funds is a grants programme that will be defrayed to external parties. So it will be a case of applications coming in from business and organisations within the district to deliver projects that fall under the identified interventions, which include small-scale investment in micro and small enterprises in rural areas under the rural business section. And then for the rural community section, it will be funding for rural circular economy projects and funding for impactful volunteering and social action projects to develop social and human capital in local places. That's deluxe wording, that's not mine.
That sounds very wordy. No.
If projects come forward from, I was going to say, because it's an open call for projects, it will be up to organisations and businesses to decide what they need funding for support for. So I would like to reiterate that town and parish councils are eligible to apply should they wish, as long as it's not to deliver a statutory duty. So, for example, if a town council wanted to say, you know, we want to deliver a capital project of putting additional cycle hoops or something like that, then that could be considered through the application process.
Thank you. It's a bigger subject, Madam Chair, really, because it's got to be partnered by many other people as well for cycling footpaths. I mean, it's silly things like, we all know that Essex County Council now don't keep they only cut the footpaths once a year, and everybody's trying to get walking and outside. But the things you know yourself, if you get a bramble or you get something, there's many footpaths that are not now easily accessible. So my idea would be something about, is there anybody or anything? Because it's all right, everybody's saying Essex County Council's responsibility, and I have to declare an interest because I am one, but it's not going to happen. So until other authorities or other working groups or anybody else within their parish and towns try to do something to clear them, those footpaths are not going to be clear for everybody to walk and enjoy out in the countryside. So all I'm trying to think of, you know, when you said it's the cycle, I'm trying to think of that cycle, because there's only so far you're going to get round, because you're not going to be able to walk those footpaths because they're not being cleared. And, you know, I know it's maybe not our responsibility, Madam Chair, because I bet Mr Holmes is thinking, will she stop giving me loads of different work? But what I'm trying to think is the bigger picture. If that makes sense. And if we can get some funding to try and do that at some stage, that would be good. I'm setting you a task, sorry.
Thank you for confirming that Essex County Council are doing nothing to promote people walking along.
I said one a week, Madam Chair. Please get your facts right. One a year, I said.
One a year, I think you said. So, wouldn't one a week be lovely? But we can but dream. Councillor Shaughnessy, you had a question.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, Maldon in Bloom do our best to do as much sort of clearing as we can, but we cannot hope to do everything that needs doing. And you know, emails come in from residents. Oh, there's a bit between so and so and so and so needs clearing, and if we can do it, we do it. But you know, we have a busy schedule anyway. So some more help would be much appreciated, please.
Conversation for another place and another time, but it's something that the perhaps the community payback teams could be getting involved with, but that's not for here. But Councillor Stamp, does Essex communicate at all with? I was thinking community payback teams. That's something that they could possibly do.
I've never come across them. I thought it was I thought it came
I'm
from
not
here.
sure how
Was it Sue Finch or somebody? I can't remember now.
Chair, yeah, we have had active parties, particularly working around cemeteries and things. So we do have a point of contact. So it's something we could raise as a topic to say, could they get engaged with that? They're often looking for projects in districts, so we'll raise it and see informally and see what happens.
Because I can raise it through you, Chair. I can raise it at county, but you've got to be careful because you've got to have their permission, because they don't like you just going and chopping things down without them assessing. But then I think because they're so short of resources now, I think that there is some way of partnership, and that's what I'm saying. If it could get something started, it might work.
Yeah, I think that could be a way. I think that could be a way to go to get something done. Thank you. Any more questions? No. Can we agree the recommendations by assent? Agreed. Thank you. And again, thank you very much. And well done. Please keep raising money for Maldon District Council. It's very much appreciated, all the work you do. So thank you. Which brings me to item 12. Any other items of business that the chairperson of the committee decides are urgent, and Councillor Stamp has.
I have, please. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been identified that raised or that we don't have an independent person, and I did raise this with Mr Dodson, and he said to me it was on the agenda, and it's not on the agenda, about the independent person sitting with us here, and you said, because do you remember me, I went...
Mr Dodson.
I signed off the paper for committee for March the 7th, I think it is, so it's coming to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant. That's great. Thank you very, very much. Okay, that brings me to item 13, exclusion of the public and press. To resolve that under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of schedule 12A to the Act, and that this satisfies the public interest test. I so moved. Thank you very much. Seconded by Councillor Thompson. Members, we agreed? Super. So if we could stop the